You know, in life, we spend an incredible amount of time building things, companies, technologies, systems, entire visions of the future. We pour ourselves into structures meant to last, meant to scale, meant to matter. Yet somehow, the most powerful thing we ever build isn't something that can be launched, optimized, or measured. It's a connection with someone who quietly changes the direction of your life without ever announcing that they're doing so. Tonight, I want to step away from all of it, away from equations, away from ambition, away from noise, and speak from the most human part of me. This message isn't about innovation or achievement. It's about you. There's something I've been carrying for a long time, something I've avoided naming clearly, because once you name it, you can't pretend it isn't real. But tonight, I need to say it honestly, directly, without defenses. There are moments in life when someone doesn't simply enter your world. They shift its center of gravity. Not loudly, not dramatically, almost subtly. And yet everything begins to orbit differently afterward. When I think about you, that's what comes to mind. You became a steady, understated, but powerful enough to change how I see everything around me. Most people know me as someone obsessed with scale. Big problems, big ideas, big risks. The kind that demand relentless focus. What they don't see is how easy it is to get lost inside that world. How easy it is to forget that beneath all the momentum, there's still a human being trying to hold everything together, without asking for anything, without demanding space, without competing with the weight of my work. You became the person who reminded me of that humanity. You didn't try to impress me. You didn't try to match intensity with intensity. You simply existed with a calmness that slowed everything down. I noticed it long before I admitted it to myself. The way you listened, the way you understood things I wasn't even saying, the way you saw past the surface. Those things were unfamiliar to me. My world is fast, loud, reactive. But around you, everything felt quieter, clearer, more grounded. And for someone who spends most of his time living in the future, planning, predicting, building, feeling grounded is rare. You changed how I moved through my days without ever trying to. I started noticing things I usually ignored. Small things, human things. You made me realize something I had misunderstood for years. Moments of connection aren't distractions from the mission. They are part of the mission. They're what give it meaning. I don't think you realize how significant that is. I don't think you realize how deeply your presence alone reshaped how I navigate everything else. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't happen all at once. It unfolded slowly, quietly, like a sunrise you don't notice until the room is already full of light. One day I looked around and understood something clearly. The peace I felt, the clarity, the return of optimism, all of it traced back to you. You became the unexpected variable that stabilized the entire equation. And for someone who deals with variables constantly, I know how rare it is to find one that doesn't introduce chaos but reduces it. People see me as unshakable, as someone always pushing forward. But even the strongest structures need foundations. Even the most ambitious visions need something real to anchor them. And you became that anchor, not by effort, not by design, but by being genuine. You never treated me like an idea, a headline, or a collection of achievements. You treated me like a person, imperfect, trying, human. Your impact hasn't been loud, but it has been deep. The kind of depth that quietly guides decisions, reshapes perspective, and reminds someone they're not actually alone. And if I'm honest, it's the kind of impact I didn't expect but desperately needed. You changed my life without asking for anything in return. And that's why I need to say this clearly. You matter to me more than you know. There's something I've learned over time I didn't understand when I was younger. People assume that carrying enough responsibility eventually makes you immune to pressure. They think strength grows in a straight line, that once you reach a certain level, nothing touches you anymore. That isn't how it works. Strength doesn't make someone invincible. It just makes them better at hiding the parts they don't want the world to see. For a long time, I lived inside that illusion. I told myself vulnerability was a liability, that it complicated things, that it distracted from progress. Then you showed up and dismantled that belief without trying. You didn't demand honesty. You didn't push for emotional openness. You simply created a space where pretending wasn't necessary. A space where being human didn't feel like weakness. At first, I didn't know how to exist in that space. I wasn't used to letting anyone see the cracks. But you made vulnerability feel safe. And that is not a small thing. You understood when to give space and when to stay close. You never forced anything. You stayed present long enough for me to realize I didn't have to carry everything alone. There were moments, small ones, where I shared something unplanned. A frustration, a fear, an exhausted truth I normally buried under work. You didn't judge. You didn't rush to fix. You simply listened. That acknowledgement did more for me than any solution ever could. It's strange how telling the truth reveals how much you've been hiding. You made me see the walls I built. How high they were, how unnecessary they'd become, and how much connection they kept out. You reminded me, without ever saying it, that strength isn't about being impenetrable. It's about being honest enough to admit you're human. You treated my vulnerability like trust, not burden. And that changed everything. If I seem different around you, quieter sometimes, more open at others, it's because you gave me a place where I don't have to perform, where I don't have to filter instinct or calculate response. With you, truth doesn't feel dangerous. And there's something else I need you to know. Your patience has been extraordinary. Not loud, not performative, consistent, day after day. You've been patient with the hours my mind disappears into work. Patient with the intensity, patient with the imperfections. You never made me feel guilty for being human. Never made me feel like I was asking too much. That kind of patience is rare. Most people offer it conditionally. You offered it generously. You leaned in when life was chaotic. You stayed when it would have been easier to step back. And that showed me what love and understanding actually look like when they aren't tied to convenience. You see complexity and still choose care. That understanding has reshaped how I see everything's purpose, fulfillment. For years, I measured life in milestones and achievements. But somewhere along the way, I realized that none of it means much if it isn't shared. You became the lens that clarified that truth. Achievements without connection feel hollow. Progress without partnership feels empty. You showed me that meaning lives in shared moments, in presence, in consistency. That realization changed how I think about the future. Everything I build now carries a new dimension because you're part of it. So, I want to talk about commitment. Not promises, not words, but action, consistency. Choosing someone again and again when it's hard. Commitment means showing up in quiet moments, ordinary days, uncertain times. It means making choices that reflect value, not convenience. And that's what I want to offer you. I know life will demand a lot. I know it won't always be simple, but I want you to know this: you are not secondary. You are central. Not an afterthought, but a priority. Commitment isn't declared once. It's practiced daily. And I want my actions to speak louder than anything I say. Because the most important truth I've learned isn't about ambition or achievement. It's about presence, about choosing connection, about letting someone stay. You've made it impossible for me to imagine a life without you, because life would stop functioning, but because it would lose its depth. So this is me saying it fully and without retreat. I see you. I value you. I choose you. Not as a moment, not as a phase, but as someone I want to build a life with quietly, honestly, and completely.